Hello and welcome to Center Ice Cardcast, your one-stop podcast shop for all things hockey cards. My name is Eric Andrews, also known in the hobby as Hammerhawks, and I'm joined by my co-host and fellow hobbyist Aaron Goldstein, better known as Crease Collector. So, as per usual, we'll start the show with a little bit of a show and tell. The majority of the episodes will be Aaron's show, obviously talking about the Spring Expo, but I'll start off with a couple of recent additions to my collection. The first one is nothing super crazy, but it's just kind of more of a cool piece from the new 24-25 SP game used. It is a gold auto premium memorabilia out of 15
Ooh.
of Jacob Slavin.
Oh, that's nice. That's real nice.
And
I like that.
it's a little hard to see there, but it is the Eye of the Hurricane logo
Oh, is that
from the shoulder patch.
like the black on black, like
Yep.
murdered out black patch? Oh, I think that's so
Yep.
cool. Yeah, it's hard to see on the camera. I'm sure if you scanned it oh
Yeah.
no, I can see it now. Yeah. Okay, that's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, I love those shoulder patches. I mean, I haven't really thought about this too much, but they're probably my favorite. Well, maybe not my favorite, but one of the top of my favorite shoulder patches in the league, which is a really obscure thing to say. But, we talk about jerseys, but I think as collectors, we talk about various patches. And I think, with shoulder patches, they definitely get, the collector's mind moving around. So that's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you got it on a card. I think it's on, maybe not Slavin, but, I've seen that done in a mega patch form. And I think that looks really cool.
Yeah, for sure. So when I saw that pop up on eBay, whatever, a week and a half ago or whatever, I was just like, yeah, like I
Yeah,
gotta
no,
have that
yeah.
copy.
Yeah.
That's a really cool card. So
Yeah.
just like actually being able to have the very center of the hurricane logo is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
yeah,
I mean, the
pretty
eye
cool.
is never where you want to be. Like, I'm no storm chaser, but you don't, you definitely don't want to be there. Except when it comes to hockey cards, you definitely want to be right in the center of
Mhm.
that patch. So I'm glad you were able to snag that one. That's awesome.
Yes, absolutely. And then the second one I will put up a scan of. Let me get it ready to go here. So recently, I don't know how long ago this was, maybe a month or so ago at this point, Dr. Price released another wave of the stick rack cards on his
Mhm.
website. And I saw this card and just said, I think I got to have that. So it is numbered out of 5, and it is of the one and only Connor Bedard.
Ooh, that's nice. That's awesome. That's super cool. Love that stick piece. I love how it kind of blends in with the rest of the card. That's amazing. Well done.
Yeah. Yeah, I really liked how it was just a fitting piece. There were some other ones that had some of the Sherwood logo. They're kind of like that yellowish color, which I mean, those still looked really nice, and they're obviously a very identifiable piece. But something about this one, just with the red and the black and gray, kind of just spoke to me. It's very on brand for the Blackhawks, and it
Bold.
goes really well with the rest of the card. I love the red background design on the card. It just makes the card really pop. But what I really like about the card and about the stick piece in particular is that secondary kick point graphic.
Oh, I didn't even see that until you zoomed in. That's really cool. What was that? The main word? Like, what would that say? Like, do you know what kind of model it's from? Or
It's a Sherwood Wrecker is what they're called.
oh, okay, Wrecker. Okay, that makes
Yep,
sense. I always love seeing stick names. They're so weird.
they are.
Oh man, I remember Warrior has, having some interesting names. Back in the day, especially for their grips. So it was,
Yep.
it was just very interesting. So no, it's always like really cool to see those stick piece there, and it's always cool when you can get that little, I guess, secondary, I guess, inscription, if you want to call it that there.
Yeah, definitely kind of just takes it to another level, and just a unique thing and really cool. And it of course is the same stick as the stick handle piece that I have, so it is from the 2024 World Championships. So kind of just cool to have that connection to another card in my collection as well. So yeah, it was just like, again, one of those cards where you see it and you're just like, yep, I think that's gotta come home. So yeah, I'll just kind of keep it short and sweet, and we'll turn things over to Aaron for the next bit of the episode, which will be all about the 2025 Toronto Spring Expo.
Yes, it will. And before we move on to that, just you mentioned the worlds there, and it's gonna be an interesting tournament this year. I mean, for me, it usually is. I mean, I like the World Championships. I know some people don't really, you know, consider it like a real tournament, but hey, look, far from fucking. Oh yeah, it is a good regard.
That's Kurt, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. I just like seeing all the cool, usernames and stuff. It's always nice. But no, yeah, the World Championships this year is going to be amazing. Again, like for some people, it might not strike a chord with them, but for me, I've always really enjoyed the Worlds and of course, the juniors, but of course, the men's tournament too is always amazing. So funny you mentioned that, and also. With the recent news of, I don't know if I'm breaking any news here for people, but Marc-Andre Fleury will be going to the World Championships, and it just like we were talking this week, he's never been to, a men's world championship, which is just crazy to me. I mean, it's just like, how is that possible? Like, I know some
He's
guys,
always been playing.
yeah, I mean, but even some other years where, uh, you know, maybe Pittsburgh got a tough out or something, and I don't know, just strange, so strange.
Seems like he would have been at one at some point, but
Yeah, like, in one of their down years or something. But hey, you know what? These things happen for a reason. And, the stars aligned. And, no doubt it's probably because it's, his last year. But it's going to be amazing, him suiting up with McKinnon and Crosby. I mean, that team, will just be stacked. So I think they're all kind of banding together to win a gold for him. So, and officially get him into that triple gold clubs, which will be amazing. So here's hoping. It won't be easy, but especially when you face the US or anything like that, or Sweden, Finland, whoever. But it'll be interesting. So I might have to watch more of that tournament. I think it's in Sweden this year actually. So that'll be interesting with the time change. But here's hoping I can watch a little bit of it. That'd be nice.
yeah, absolutely.
And moving on now to the expo, which everyone is excited to hear about. So it's always, I got to get Eric up here one day for it, because it's always, it still amazes me every year going to this thing, twice a year if I'm lucky, and seeing all the, what the hobby has to offer. And I will say, this one for me, and I can't speak for everybody, but at least for me, I think it, you know. I guess signaled like a return to normalcy, if that makes a little bit more sense. Like, in some ways more than not, but for me it just, when I was walking around and seeing all the booths and things like that, it just seemed like, it felt like, a couple years ago, and what that felt like, kind of like pre 2020 days. So yeah, I guess, from that standpoint, it was really, really good. The pricing was, and this was the main kind of feel, where I got this from, was the pricing was, um, you know, decent, I will say, like more realistic, and I guess fair is probably the best word to put it. Again, you'll always get, the odd booth that is kind of out to lunch, or, the big names like the Crosby cards or this and that, or some graded stuff. I think we're entering, this, what are we calling it? I guess the junk
Junk plastic,
slab,
junk
yeah, like
slab. Yeah.
junk slab era, or whatever you want to call it, or the junk plastic era or whatever. So I mean, you still see a little bit of that, probably too much than what I'd like to see, but I mean, they're going to try and move it. It was just kind of the sign of the times, I guess. So I guess you'll be seeing that for years to come. But you'll get some of that. But I think overall, when looking at the main superstars, um, not so much the rookies, but mainly, the superstars, the veterans that, they've been around for a long time. And I think, everyone's going to gravitate toward those guys. You look at pricing for, some nice autograph card, or, a nice patch card of like a nice Hall of Famer. And I think in the past couple of years, the prices have been just nuts. If it had Crosby's name on it, it was just insane. And then now, I'm looking at, a couple of displays, and I'm like, okay, like, I'm not going to destroy my budget on that card, but you know, if someone wanted to, they'd be picking up a pretty good card at a decent price, a very fair price. And so I haven't been able to say that in years. And so it's not every place you look, but if you look hard enough, and everyone has the big name guys, but I think a lot of people were willing to really negotiate and really price their things to sell. And I think that was a really good thing for the health of the hobby, because we talked about this you know long time ago now, but in a few episodes ago, and we were saying how, I guess, the hobby outlook is, it's becoming too hard, for people to kind of play the game. If you're a young kid starting out, it's just, it's too high for you to really get going. And so I think, prices now, seeming have softened. I could only imagine if you were like a kid, trying to get into collecting, or if you were trying to like, reach that next level, so to speak. I think it made that switch much more, I guess, affordable. And I think that's really, really good for the health of the hobby overall. So that was really nice to see. And, as far as everyone there, everyone was awesome to see and speak with. Touched base, I went there on a Saturday, and I touched base with Billy Celio, who, if you've paid attention to the podcast for a long time, you've, know who that is. And, I'm very, familiar with him. And so I got, acquainted with him again, which was great to see. He was like one of the first guys I saw. So that was great. And, so we walked around the floor a little bit, and, taking a look at some stuff. And then we, parted ways, as I wanted to kind of look around a little bit more. And, yeah, it was really, really cool. And we'll get to the pickups, I guess, now. I only picked up 4 cards, so nothing crazy, but it's something that I think, I'm really proud of, especially only being able to go one day. But this one, I'll knock this one out early. This one's just ingrained base card, nothing crazy, of Henrik Lundqvist. So I've always really liked these cards. The kind of wood grainy feel to them is just awesome. And I really like what Upper Deck did with this product again. And this one's from 1819. So yeah, just an awesome product. And just I really enjoy what they've done with it. And yeah, it's always nice to pick up a high quality base card, that's for sure. And the next one is this one was actually my first pickup of the show. And Eric, I know when I sent this to you, you were like, hey, that's a solid pickup all around. So this one is similar to the guy we just talked about. This is from 0607 Artifacts, and it is the Platinum Parallel out of 10 of Marc-Andre Fleury. So, I mean, I love parallels like these. It's hard to see, the shine on that, but out of 10 right in the bottom there too. But just, I love these cards. I know, especially now, there's so much parallels in everything. And I think, as a collector, we kind of get exhausted by the amount of parallels. But hey, Nick, we kind of get exhausted by these parallels. But I think Artifacts was, the OG, kind of parallel, hell, I guess, I've heard people call it. And it's just something that I've always really enjoyed that. Again, people really, really hate it, but I love Artifacts parallels. I think they're great. And I think that was back when, parallels were, somewhat manageable, back in this kind of era. And so that's when I kind of, really just fell in love with Artifacts. And so, I remember this design very well. And yeah, I just thought, what? An old parallel from back in the day. Why not Artifacts? Like, it's a no-brainer for me. And again, speaking on pricing, the guys there were very, very easy to work with. And, I was able to offer what I thought was fair. And they said, yeah, no problem. And again, it's for Fleury, a guy who's, at the top of the world right now, and ending his career on, a really good high note, and, Hall of Famer. But again, a couple years ago, Fleury stuff would be just, it was crazy. It was just unbelievable. And so now it's like, yeah, a nice low number parallel. Not quite rookie year, but, early in his career, Artifacts, perfect. Worked for me, worked for them, done. So I think getting back to that, which, we've missed, I think, in the last couple of years overall, was really, really good. Not that there aren't deals to be had, or, people to work with you. There always are, but I think it was more evident at the show recently. So I'm really excited to see if that continues on into the fall for the fall expo, and seeing how maybe prices soften a little bit, and there's always that uptick when hockey starts, but I think it'll be really fun. Yeah, exactly. So Kurt, like, knows exactly what we're talking about. He was a big Gabby guy back in the day, and yeah, the Artifacts parallels, they seem tame, I guess, compared to what we see maybe now. But back in the day, they were that product that it's like if you had a guy in there, it was like, oh no. But again, it seems funny now, but back then it was like, how many parallels? Like six? That's insane, right? So I mean, not unless you count, the jersey versions or autograph versions, but I'm talking just more the base stuff. But yeah, I mean, there was so much to go around, but I really enjoyed it. And maybe I'm the only one, but I don't mind a good parallel rainbow. It's bad when you see it on a checklist, but I think everyone could agree, especially player collectors, when you complete it, you love it, right? It's just the journey to get there that is just painful. So I get it, but hey, I mean, it's just something I really enjoy. So yeah, it was a great pickup for me in the Flurry collection. So I'll leave it at that. And it
That's
wouldn't be
a
an yeah,
yeah.
no, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's a sweet card. It's a beautiful design, cool
It is,
photo.
yeah.
Um, but I mean, that's kind of a card that almost symbolizes like the beauty of a show like that, in the
Yeah.
sense that how often do you see cards like that pop up? Especially online. I mean, maybe every now and then, but to find a card numbered out of 10 from almost 20 years ago,
Yeah.
which it's kind of crazy to think that was almost 20 years
I
ago,
know.
but
I know.
um, still, I mean, the point being, it's just you never really know what you're going to see at a show and what you're going to be able to pick up. So I think that's definitely a very fitting, card in that sense, but obviously just a really, really nice card too.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, this guy, I didn't get the booth name, but there was these guys from Quebec, and they were, young guys, like probably like my age or so, and so maybe they're liquidating part of a childhood collection or something. I saw a lot of stuff from that era in that sort of section, and then at the main, front of the display, they had the main stuff everyone's looking for, but at the side, it was just kind of tucked away in the display case there, and there was a couple of things from that era, and saw some you know some other flurries there, and I saw this one out of 10. I'm like, yeah, this is great. And I was actually talking with Matt Burrows, who we had last time on the podcast, just recently on our recent episode, and I showed him this card, and he hasn't been in the game as far as flurry collecting as long as other collectors, but as far as his knowledge of the hobby and his you know ferociousness to go and track things down, it's unbelievable. It's fantastic. And so I showed him this card, and he's been very vocal about being one of the big flurry guys out there, and he was saying, yeah, like, I haven't even seen that card. I mean, we've all seen it in Kendall's collection and stuff, but as far as any coming up for sale or knowing other collectors who have one out there, and he knows them all, and he was saying, yeah, like, I haven't heard of that card out there, and he looks around all the time. And so to hear that, really just goes to show how little of these things are out there. And not obviously being out of 10, but just the fact from cards from that, I guess, era don't really pop up that often. So yeah, it was a great find, good era, obviously Flurry, big fan. So yeah, it was just a no-brainer for me. So, and then I was just gonna jump into this now, but it wouldn't be an expo without any Enroth pickups. So I usually don't pick anything up that's substantial, but I did manage to pick up, and now this is a duplicate, but I usually pick up like a young gun or something every show if I can. Sometimes they're overpriced, so I just pass on it, but I try at least try and find them, and sometimes I'll find some better than others, but they're usually overpriced. But if not, I'll grab some, or some people giving me them for free, which is great. But this one is a duplicate, but it's a really nice duplicate, and forget his name, but Coop on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, alerted me to this card. He's a big goalie guy, like myself, and knows I collect Enros. So he saw this at the show and said, "Hey, this is their booth, and they have it here. Hopefully, you can get it for a good price." And the sticker price was pretty high, but I was like, you know what, I have a price in mind. It's a duplicate for me. If I can get it, great. If not, it's no problem. So I managed to, snag it from that seller there, worked out a really good deal for it. And you guys all want to see the card, so I'll show it now. So it's from 0910 Upper Deck Premier, OPG Premier, and Upper Deck OPG Premier, which, I mean, I love that set. It's really hard to see, but the design of the card is just amazing. I love how this is the gold parallel out of 10. The originals were out of 25. And so, yeah, just really, really cool. If you notice, Enroth did sign in gold on the bottom, and Miller was supposed to follow suit, but, he didn't. I mean, obviously, if you signed so many cards over the years, you're like, you know what, I'm signing with which whatever, Sharpie I want to. But, clearly, there was some direction on this card. With the base versions, they signed in silver. Well, Enroth did. And then the gold versions, they signed in gold. So Miller didn't follow any of those directions at all, which is fine. But the card itself is just amazing. There's some nice foil on there, which is it's hard to see, but it's there. And yeah, just the designs of the OPG Premier signings, the singles, the duals, triples, whatever, quads, are just amazing. It's probably my favorite autograph set of all time. They look amazing. I wish they'd bring it back. I know we have platinum now and all that stuff. So they won't, but it was a great sign of the times. And yeah, duplicate, but it's an amazing one. And yeah, I was actually super stoked to add that one to the collection.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, such an iconic product line from that era. Anyone that was collecting back in those days knows that. Um, yeah, just pretty much every card in that product, but especially
Oh
those
yeah.
autograph cards, like you said, were just beautifully done. The design, the foil, everything about them was just awesome. So, even though you already had one, when you
It
see a
was
card like
like,
that,
yeah. Exactly. So, yeah, first print run too. Not a jersey number card because Enroth was wearing 31 in the picture there when he was first, you know, introduced with the Sabres. So, still cool. First print, always awesome to get. So, even though it's out of 10, yeah, just awesome card. So, hey, it's our Crosby collector. That's awesome. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see what he does at the Worlds too. I'm sure he'll bring it home. But yeah, so that was the lone Enroth pickup there. And I guess I'll finish it off with Eric knows what it is, but my final pickup of the expo. This was, and this is the beauty of the expo. You never know what you're going to find when you look through, random bins and all that stuff. You got to stop everywhere and, just search through things. And that's why, Eric, if you ever come up, it, it goes from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as you know, but you almost need Thursday just to don't buy anything. Just walk the floor. And I've never done that on a Thursday, but if I was, going to the expo for the first time, you almost need that because you can just destroy your budget in the first row of the first aisle of all these dealers, right? But if you take the Thursday or something to just walk and just find out who's where and, find out what they have. And obviously, if a deal needs to get done, it gets done. But just to get your kind of your bearings, it's really daunting. And so, one of the reasons is obviously as hockey card collectors, there's so much there. And so this is another reason why, leave no stone unturned because you never know what you're going to find. I was at someone's booth and there was, a couple boxes and I, opened one and, there was some slabs in one, some random graded cards. And there was another small box with just in the game slabbed cards. And so I thought that was really interesting. And so I picked up this card and I've been wanting an autograph just an autograph of this guy for many years, but it's kind of like a one and done thing for the goalie collection. You're kind of more specific. You don't want just any card. You want the card that's going to fit in your collection. So this one definitely did so, and then some. This is from 2000, 2001. Be a player, and from old in the game, and it's just such an amazing card. It's from the Goalie Legends signature set here, and Vladislav Tretiak. So hard to pick up on the camera, but it is autographed there, and it also has the red memorabilia there from the jersey. So just amazing. This is slab because it is a ultimate vault version. It's the sapphire version. So originally the pack ones were at a 50, and so who knows how however many more they made for this vaulted set here. But blue stamp or not, it doesn't matter. It's not why I bought the card. It's just because of the fact that it was Tretiak and it was autographed and it was amazing. The design is amazing. Just the card is awesome. The guy's a legend. He's the best goalie to never play in the NHL. And it is just an amazing card for my collection. So the guy was very fair. He took a moment to, I'm always kind of worried, when you ask about cards and they don't have a price tag on them. And then, they pull up their phone. They're like, well, let's see comps and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, there's no room to move because they're just going to go by comps. And, they can do what they want. It's their card. That's fine. But it just seems like more often than not, yeah, Eric has the picture there that I took. So just an amazing card there. So as far as, dealers and stuff, if someone pulls out your phone, sometimes, you're in for a bad time as far as any negotiation or something like that. And so, I had it, in my mind, the price I wanted to pay. And so, he came in, right around that, that figure. And I said, done, easy decision. His price was very fair. Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Okay. So I didn't know, because I know in some vaulted versions there were sapphire, emerald, and ruby. So yeah, so you're never really sure in these vaulted product which one. Sometimes it's one, sometimes it's all three or two. But that's really cool to see that there's more out there. I'd love to see a picture of that actually. That's if you have some handy. So yeah, exactly. So it's for some cards I don't mind it if it's something crazy high end, and it's hard to really you know find a value to it. But for some cards it's like, okay, like it should have a price, it doesn't. What's happening here, right? So similar thing to these vaulted cards, which in fairness, some people don't know what they're worth, and he gave me a very fair price. I took it, and yeah, it was a great decision for my collection. So Eric, I know you have a card that's very similar, and just from that older in the game era. And yeah, it's an amazing piece. I love it, everything about it.
Yeah, I mean, what's not to love about it, really? I mean, it's from the original Ultimate Memorabilia product, so it's got that going for it. It's a really cool design, has a couple of nice photos on it, hard signed, uh, you know, Soviet game worn jersey piece. Like it's got everything going for it. So yeah, it's really cool that you were finally able to pick up a Tretiak for your collection. I know you had been looking for a long time, and this one certainly checks a lot of boxes, and probably more than you were expecting. For a card too.
Exactly.
So
Wasn't
uh,
expecting the memorabilia. I ticked that off last show, just my first game use piece of Tretiak, which was great. And then so after that show, I was like, okay, now I need like an autograph. And I was really patient with it. Usually his autographs, they're kind of, especially the last couple shows, were kind of to the moon a little bit. Which in fairness, he's a legend of the game. But I think his stuff was a little bit overpriced, and so I found the right card at the right time, and it also has a piece of memorabilia on it, so it's fantastic.
yeah, absolutely can't go wrong. And Nick's saying he's got an auto jersey from 0506 between the pipes, which is
Oh,
pretty
that's
cool.
sweet. Yeah, I love that era, between the pipes, just so good. So, yeah, so that was my expo. I was planning to go the full weekend, but it didn't turn out that way, unfortunately. So, and I'm not wearing it now, but I was wearing my Enroth Orbro jersey, which was fantastic. So, got a couple good comments on that, and also met up with Josh, who's a good friend of the show, and spoke with Dr. Brian Price, which you just mentioned, which is really cool. I was actually stopped in at a booth, and I thought it was him that kind of passed by, and I wasn't really sure. And so I took, a double take, and I was like, oh wait, that's it's Brian Price. That's awesome. I don't know when was the last time he went to a show. I remember he set up as President's Choice years ago. And I remember I spoke to him then, and as far as this podcast, I hadn't spoke to him in person in a very long time, and so said, hey, I'm Aaron, and he knew exactly who I was, and we talked cards for a little bit, and so that was really cool. So it's always nice to see all these guys at the show every year, and some more than others, of course, but it's always nice to for some people put a face to the name, and yeah, so I'm really excited about the next show in the fall, and Eric, hopefully we'll see you there. I know it's really tough, but maybe a spring expo would work out a little bit better for you, but who knows? I'm sure you'll make it work one of these years.
I would love to. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think at this point with my current job, probably the fall would be more doable.
Oh, would it? Okay.
The spring is always right around. I work at a college, and it's always like right around the
Yeah.
graduation date.
Yeah.
So we just had the graduation ceremonies on Saturday. So the couple weeks leading up to that is just absolutely bonkers.
Oh, I
So
can imagine that with,
I don't know that
potential
I don't know
expo.
that
Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know that a spring expo would ever happen as long as I'm in this job, but maybe the fall one day. And since you said you wanted to see Kurt's copy, and Kurt is listening, of
Oh,
course,
did he
he
send it
passed
over? Okay.
along
Okay.
a
Cool.
picture. So here's a little
All right.
bonus
All right.
show
Tricky
and tell,
extra.
so to speak. So there is Kurt. Let me get rid of the
Oh,
red.
nice. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, the red vault there. So it's always really cool. It's always a mystery, kind of, and people can, shed more light on this, if they have any, but it's always a mystery what colored stamps are. I know final vault was a thing, but, before that, or even, the superlative vault, stuff like that, which cards have a which stamp. I know they try and go for three each, but I don't think, and, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think all of them have three different color variations, but maybe I'm wrong.
It just depends on the card. I mean,
Yeah.
there were some cards that were originally one of ones, and
Yeah,
they
exactly.
made a second copy as a replacement copy, so
Yeah.
obviously there's only one of those.
Yeah.
Essentially how it works is each color corresponds with, like, a print run, so to speak. It's not
Okay.
actually a print run, but basically a certain color corresponded with, like, what copy of the print run. So, like, this color would mean there's at least one copy of this card in the vault product. This color, there's at least two. This color, there's at least three, and so on.
Yeah, like I knew
Um,
it kind of worked that way for Final Vault, but I don't know how it worked exactly with, Ultimate Vault and Superlative Vault, stuff like that. It's all over the place, but that's what I love about it because you don't really know what's out there.
yeah, so I'm pretty sure this worked the same way. Whereas I want to say the red was the first, like the number one. I think. Don't quote me on that. I know you can find that information online. I just don't have it in front of me. But
It'd be
you
interesting
would
to hear
have,
that, to see that.
yeah, you'd have that, so for this card in particular, Kurt's is the red, you have the sapphire.
Yeah,
So, and Kurt is saying here, only three
yeah,
maximum in the
exactly.
ultimate
Yeah,
vault. So
yeah.
that checks out there.
The reason I asked it because different product. It was in Superlative Vault, and there's an Enroth card in there, and I have the Emerald one and the Ruby one. Oh, hold on, let me just check. Just my brain's going, and I know we have a break, but soon, and we'll get to that. But yeah, it just piques my interest.
Yeah, it was definitely a very interesting and unique type of thing that Dr. Price did with the Vault products.
Yeah,
Something that really hadn't been done before and hasn't really been done in the same way since. It probably could have been communicated a little bit more clearly what all the colors meant and everything. And I know that information was out there, but it wasn't necessarily readily available to everybody. And
exactly. Yeah, through forums,
today,
like
in
blog
today's
posts, stuff like that.
some people still don't really understand how it works.
Yeah.
So just kind
So
of
anyway,
the nature of it.
yeah, yeah. So in the Superlative Vault, I have a green stamp and a red stamp. I had always assumed that there is a sapphire stamp out there. And so of these, like the red one here or my, Tretiak, version as well, like I guess there'd be one version of each, I presume, or it
Correct.
depends. Okay. So they're kind of like one of ones, but based on the color. So,
Hmm.
okay. So anyway, that maybe doesn't solve the mystery, but it uncovers something. So I guess we'll leave it at that. So yes, this was my expo kind of recap. As far as the layout goes, pretty good. I mean, we were in halls 2, 3, and 4, I believe. So different than hall 5 usually. Hall 5 is usually the main one, and then you kind of have that dreaded hallway, and then it leads into another kind of smaller hall. So this year they kind of, I believe that would be hall 4. So this, in this case they kind of you know kept everything close, and so there was no hallway or anything like that. So it was all like all, kind of felt like all one big room, like, which was really cool. So I really enjoy that kind of layout. I found it easier to, even though there wasn't the hallway, that's kind of like a, you know I guess, checkpoint. It still felt like everything was, large, but easy to get around, and so you have your grading area and you have your autograph area, and then you have kind of the food area and then like everything else. So, I still found it very, manageable. And, from a dealer perspective, I think it made it, I guess, fair, for everybody, because instead of being, cooped up in, the smaller hall, and then everyone's grouped up in hall 5, and you have a little bit more of a even playing field where people can kind of wander everywhere and, kind of see things a little bit more easier, I think. So that's just my perspective, just, me walking around. So I think the layout was good. We'll see what happens in the fall. But yeah, it was all around a very positive expo, and excited to, do it all again in the fall. And of course the pickups were amazing, and yeah, it was fantastic. If anyone else has a, an expo pickup they want to share with us, please reach out. And we always love to see that stuff. So yeah, another good time.
Awesome. It's great to hear. You said up front that the pricing was pretty good. How do you feel that the attendance has compared to over the last few years?
I think it was good. I think the Saturday was just crazy. I was talking with Brian about this, and he made a comment saying, "Oh, it's like almost too busy," and I'm like, "Yeah, I kind of get that, because depending on where you're kind of going, you gotta like bob and weave through people, and it's just crazy." Again, I went on the Saturday, so it's going to be the busiest day, but still, it was jam packed, and just I think again from a health perspective of the hobby, I think it's fantastic. If prices soften a little bit, get a little bit more fair, realistic, and you have that influx of new, blood in the hobby, combat that with, more affordable-ish prices. I think that's a good recipe for people, staying in this hobby long term, and getting their collections kind of ramping up and just enjoying the hobby like we've done all these years. So I think it's a lot more healthier, I think, than the past couple years. Again, that's just my perspective. I know it's not perfect, with pricing, at every location around the expo, but I think overall it was a really good start.
Cool. Cool. Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I might be there for work. I always try and not time it purposely, but I've always been, keeping my eyes open to see if I'm in the area at that time as the Montreal Expo. I always wanted to see that, but a Leaf fan, I wouldn't bring anything, leafy, but I think I'd be, maybe captured or something. But anyway, so maybe I'll attend the Montreal Expo, but we'll see. We'll see.
Cool. Well, anyway, yeah, definitely glad you had a good time, and you certainly came away with a few really, really nice pickups there. So
Definitely.
always fun to hear about your experiences, and it's really interesting to me because even you have kind of a certain type of card that you are looking for and that you collect and you'll pick up, but it seems like every show, even though it might fit into the general goalie collection or whatever, it's always kind of a little bit different. So it's always really
Yeah.
fun seeing what you're able to find.
Yeah, I mean, like sometimes it's very, PC specific. Like, I picked up, some Belfours or something like that, or some Brodeurs or something. That was my kind of last, major haul at the expo, which is, I guess, more fitting, I guess. But yeah, it always just, amazes me what you find there. And I think anyone who's been to any sort of card show can sort of attest to that. You never really know what's out there until you go and find it. And so I think that's a really good lesson. And when you talk to some of the dealers, sometimes they're just there because it's what they've always done. They don't really do the whole eBay thing. It's, hey, I'll sell it if it's here, and if not, I'll wait till next time type thing. Versus some people, it's more transactional, whether it's at the expo or, okay, cool, they'll pack up their stuff, they'll list some, they won't, and it's a little bit more, I guess, normal, I guess, like a shop would kind of run. And some people are just in it for fun. So it's a different group. And it's really cool seeing what you can find, that even if the expo is over, there's no guarantee it's going to pop up for sale. That's what my kind of hope is. Like the stuff I miss, they'll list it on eBay in 2 weeks, right? But it doesn't really happen. It's just, some people, they gotta, sell it there on the floor. And so for some people, you gotta meet them there, right? And that's where the expo comes in, which is a great thing. And it's always fun seeing what I can pick up.
No doubt. So thanks for sharing. Always fun to hear. We will transition to the final topic for the episode, that being at 2324 Upper Deck Premiere,
Love it.
which has, of course, been out for a little while at this point. And we have had a box that Upper Deck sent us a little while ago at this point, kind of just holding off on opening it until the right time, and kind of just how things fell and stuff, it kind of just kept getting pushed back a little bit, but figured that this would make for a nice tack on to the expo episode, knowing that Aaron didn't pick up a whole lot, so it wouldn't be a super extensive recap, and only going one day as well. So figured this would be a good time to do it. So obviously Premiere is one of the highest end products that Upper Deck does every year. Always a fun product to check out. So we're excited to go through this. So it's, of course, just the one pack per box, 6 cards per pack. I believe there are, I think, 3 hits per pack. I believe one of which being an auto patch. So typically a rookie card of some sort. So we'll see how we do. Of course, you're looking for the mega patches. You're looking for the acetate RPAs and all that fun stuff. So as I open it up here, it actually looks like we might have a bonus 7th card.
Ooh, that's
So
awesome. I mean,
we'll
you've
see.
been like on fire lately with the breaks, so it's looking pretty decent. So we'll see. I don't want to speak too soon. You never know, but
That's true.
we'll see.
We have been on a bit of a hot streak, so maybe we'll get a nice Bedard or another nice Flurry. Who knows? Or a John Gibson mega patch for Nick, as he's pleading for. So we'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
Fittingly, the base card numbered out of 299 for the Minnesota Wild.
Of course. That's, I mean, our Flurry luck recently has been amazing. That's a great base card. I'm sure that'll be going right in the collection. So nice job. Yeah. The streak continues.
It sure does. So that's a good way to start. Next up, we have got an autograph, and I believe this is a 22-23 update.
Okay.
Yes, it is. So it's just a base auto update for the Ottawa Senators of Thomas Chabot.
Nice. Very cool. Love the design.
Yeah. Very slick looking design. Nice gold rainbow foil on there. So that's
Love
nice. Moving on, we've got the base rookie card numbered out of 399 for the St. Louis Blues of Hugh McGing.
Okay.
Nothing crazy to write home
That's
about.
Okay.
There. Just a base rookie card.
You got a hockey card. Congrats.
Yep.
That's what that is. So, and there's no problem with that. I would love a hockey card of myself.
True.
In the NHL.
We'll go from the back now, because I think the RPA is next. So we'll work our way up from the back. Of a Premier Attractions jersey numbered out of 99 for the Tampa Bay Lightning of Nikita Kucherov.
Cool. Jersey card. Love it.
Can't go wrong with a name like Kucherov, that's for sure. Again, we'll go from the back. We've got an On the Forefront patch numbered out of 75 for the San Jose Sharks of Henry Thrun.
Nice. Decent looking patch there. Love the color.
Yep, nice 3-color patch there, so that's
nice
cool.
Number patch.
Yeah, I think it's looks like
number
a number
of some sort.
there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not bad.
we'll again go from the back here. We've got a Premier dual jersey numbered out of 99 for the Carolina Hurricanes of Sebastian Aho and Andrei
I was just
Svechnikov.
gonna say, okay, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. And they're on to the second round, of course. So I think they're playing tonight.
They are.
That's cool. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Nice
Against the
card.
Capitals.
Wish Slavin was on it, but that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we'll finish things off with our RPA. That's a very nice card there for sure. It is one of the 0304 Retro.
Oh, nice.
And this is actually an update card from 22-23 Premier. But is, again, like I said, one of the 0304 tributes, numbered out of 99 for the Vancouver Canucks with a very, very nice patch
Nice.
of Andrei Kuzmenko.
Ooh. Oh, that's a nice patch there. That's really cool. Very nice. Wow. Hey. That can kind of go in your 0304 collection.
It'd be a reach, but yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
It's
Not
the
really.
design. It's the design.
Yeah, it's something at least, That's
So,
amazing.
yeah, a really nice card. Obviously, the acetate finish, which I kind of find interesting because the original cards didn't have the acetate finish. So I'm not really sure why they decided to add the acetate, but it makes the card
makes it
look
more
really nice.
high end,
Yeah, it's a very nice
It's
looking
just
finish.
yeah, no, it's nice. It's just let's do this, but let's make it high end,
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
and like I said, the patch is really nice. Kind of the thick white stitching there up top, and then of course the metallic silver is always a really nice look for sure. And
that's
some
awesome.
hints of blue around the edges as well. But
Mm,
yeah, definitely a very nice looking card for sure. And
that's
Kuzmenko is not
amazing.
too bad of a player.
No, not
Definitely
terrible.
a solid NHL player.
That's awesome.
So there you go. That is 23-24 Premier. No Bedard, but we
Hey,
did get Flurry. So
I mean, hey, it's not too bad, That's a pretty good break, I'd say. I'd say the streak continues.
yeah,
That's just me.
yeah, it's a nice. Kuzmenko is a really nice pull. That's for sure.
Yeah, I know for sure. That's
So
awesome.
yeah, so obviously maybe a little bit shorter of an episode, but we kind of figured that might be the case. But yeah, obviously there's playoff hockey to be
Yep.
checking out tonight. So we'll let you guys get to that and go Canes go. Of course, my guy Jacob
Mhm.
Slavin playing, and happy belated birthday to Jacob. His birthday was 5 days ago, so just give him a little shout out there. But
I heard him on the radio again this morning. They were talking about him, so he's making a name for himself.
cool. Good deal. So, like I said, we'll leave it at that and let you guys enjoy some playoff hockey. So, as always, please be sure to follow us on social media. We can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Sunrise Cardcast, and on Twitter at Sunrise CC. Please also be sure to subscribe to the show on your podcast platform of choice to make sure you never miss a future episode. Until next time on Sunrise Cardcast, keep collecting those hockey cards.